Hi everyone, welcome to the first part of our Elastic Waistband Skirt workshop. So in this part we'll be filling out the worksheet, which looks like this. You can find it on my website. You can go to the Learn to Sew section and you'll see a tab under there that says Sewing Workshops, and you'll be able to go to this particular workshop and download that worksheet. Okay, so for this worksheet, we actually only need two measurements. You'll need to measure your waist around your belly button. And then from your belly button down, you'll measure the desired length of the skirt. So you can do knee length, mid-calf, maxi, whatever you would like. That's up to you. Okay, so I've already filled out a worksheet. I'm going to kind of walk you through it. I'm going to present an idea to you first though. If you are feeling nervous about wasting fabric because maybe you're not confident with your sewing skills yet, then you can always make a skirt for a child or a grandchild or a friend's daughter. It doesn't matter. But that would allow you to use a smaller amount of fabric, especially if you're on a budget, but still be able to get the experience on how to make this skirt. Then after that, you'll have built your confidence and you can go ahead and work with a larger piece of fabric according to your own measurements. So because I've already made myself a skirt, I'm going to do this demonstration using child measurements. That way I'm not using up more fabric than I need to. So for example, for the waist measurement, I have a waist measurement of 22. And the length, I'm going to use 12. So that would be a little more than knee length for a child. The next part under your waist measurement says to multiply by 1.5 to 1.75. So why the range there? That really allows you to choose the amount of fullness that you want. So this skirt behind me was a factor of 1.75. The sample one that you see on my website, where you see the little girl in the skirt, that one was done at 1.5. But I really wouldn't go above 1.75, then you'll have too much fabric trying to gather on that elastic. So I would stay within that range. If you go below 1.5, you don't have quite enough fullness. So in this case, I'm going to multiply by 1.75. So that gives me 38.5. Now I'm going to divide by 4, and let me explain to you why we're doing that. If you see the diagram where it has the rectangle with the different dashed lines showing where the hems and seam allowances are, there is a fold line. And so that fold line means that we're not going to be cutting just this long strip of fabric. So in order to lessen the amount of cutting that we need to do, we're going to fold that fabric, and that's how we're going to cut our front piece and our back piece. Okay, so you have two pieces that make up the one skirt, and each one of those pieces is folded on half. That leaves us with a quarter of our total width rather than half or the total amount. Okay, so in my case, divided by 4, that leaves me with 9 5/8. And then we still need to add the seam allowance to that. And so adding my 1/2 inch seam allowance, I am at 10 1/8. Okay, so that is going to be the final width that I'm going to cut at when I have that fabric folded. Okay, as far as the length, all you're doing to the length is adding 4 3/8, and that will allow for your hem and for the seam allowance at the top where you're going to be casing in your elastic. To figure out how much elastic you need, you're going to multiply your waist measurement by 0.9. And so that will allow the skirt to be just snug enough. And so in this case, 22 times 0.9 gives me 19.8, which is just a little bit more than 19 3/4, so that's what I will use. and I'm adding 1 inch because that elastic is going to be a flat piece of elastic, but I need to bring it around and overlap them to be able to sew them together. And so that gives me 20 3/4. So that is the length of elastic that I would need to buy. At the bottom, it has a place for the width of fabric. The art gallery fabrics that I have in my shop, as well as most quilting cottons, are going to run at a width of about 42 inches. So that's what I'm putting in that first box there. And I'm going to divide that by 4. That gives me 10.5 inches. Okay, so the reason that we needed to make this calculation is to figure out how much fabric do we need to buy. Do I need to just buy the total length of 16 3/8, or do I need to go double that? Will that be enough fabric to cover my whole skirt? So if your final waist calculation is less than, equal to, or less than that final calculation in the width of fabric, then yes, I can go with my final length there, which was 16 3/8, which means I would only need half a yard of fabric to make this skirt. But let's say that was 11 inches, and 11 inches would be greater than 10.5, then I would need to get double of my total length. So that would be 16 3/8 plus 16 3/8, because I won't be able to fit it all on one, width of fabric. So that means I would need to get 32 3/4, which is a little less than a yard in this case. And so 1 yard of fabric would be able to complete a skirt that was that wide. Okay, if you are like super close and you multiplied by a larger factor, then you can get away with just doing your total skirt length. You would just need to lessen the factor that you multiplied by, and that might give you exactly what you need to be able to go with a smaller amount of fabric. So in this case, I multiplied by 1.75, but let's say I just barely didn't make the width of fabric, then I could take that down, multiply it maybe by 1.6 or 1.65, and see if I could squeeze that in. So at this point, we have our worksheet filled out. We know how much elastic we need. We know how much fabric we need. So now it's time to go buy your fabric and elastic, or use fabric or elastic that you might have in your stash. This is designed for a 1 inch width elastic. And in the next section, we'll go ahead and lay out these measurements either directly on our fabric, or if you want to practice drafting, then you can use drafting paper. So before I go, I'm going to show you what I personally use. I used to use different paper, but I recently found this one. It's a roll of tracing paper. I was able to get it from Dick Blick's. It's an art supply shop. You can get online. I don't think they have any stores around here because I had never heard of it before I found it online. I will put up a link for that. And you will need some drafting rulers. And you can use one or both options. These are for drafting, but they don't come in very wide widths. The ones that I have, I believe, are Westcott brand, which you can also get from Dick Blick's, but you can also find them like at Hobby Lobby or Michael's. And I like these for when I need to be super accurate, because these are more accurate than these other rulers, these quilting rulers. But you get more surface area out of these. And so typically what I do is, if I need to be very accurate, I use these to measure. And then if I need to draft a long stretch of pattern, then I'll use these because I can square off more accurately a longer measurement. A lot of people who sew already have quilting rulers in their studio or home, and so you might just want to go with that. Or if you just have drafting rulers, I would recommend some way that you could square off, especially because we're dealing with rectangle, basically, is what we're drafting. So if you need any help, feel free to contact me if you want me to double check your calculations, or if there was something you didn't understand, I can try to clear that up for you. And don't forget, you can always get your fabrics, elastic, and thread on my website, KaldreaCollections.com, or in my Etsy shop, Kaldrea Collections, which is one word. And that would be greatly appreciated and help me to continue to make free videos like this to help improve your sewing skills. I'll see you in the next lesson.